Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is a different kind of video that I'm doing here, so let me know what you think in the comments. Throughout this video, I'm going to be explaining my Deathknight build. I'm going to go into how to level it, how to play it. This is very much a work in progress. I'm not saying all the decisions I made are the right ones, but hopefully you guys can take a look at what I've done, play with it, and tune it to best suit your own needs. Before I jump into this build, I just want to say I do not recommend this build for new players. It's very hard to play because of how much utility it has. It requires you to have an in-depth understanding of not only mage fighting, but also foot fighting gameplay. If you struggle or lack in either one of these, you're not going to be good at this build, and you should just try and play something simpler. There's nothing wrong with that. You're a weak version of everything that is in the game, and but yet you can do everything that is in the game. So the game sense of knowing when to do things is what's going to kind of set you apart from the rest. Being a true Death Knight comes with a lot of disadvantages. Risen pets are extremely annoying. You cannot go near guard towers without losing rep. You cannot bring them into towns. This really struggles with a new player that's trying to grind Clade or run quests out of a town. When you summon a pet, you also cannot do this in a town, so you kind of need your own house or stronghold around the map to be able to safely drop ritual circles and summon these pets. It requires a lot of materials, not only to summon the pet, but also a lot of materials to cast spells. You are going to need a lot of spells in your spell book. All of these things are very expensive to purchase and take a lot of time to level. Finding scribes that you trust to put all these spells in your spell book, going out to the different areas of the map to purchase ritual circles, to get troll carcasses backing, to purchase gems that you're going to use for your attack. Um, there is a lot of logistics that it takes to get this up and going and to sustain it as you continue to play. There are variations of this that I think are more new player friendly. Uh, you can I'll talk more about this in detail later on in the video, but you can run a Beastmaster variant of this that will allow you to go into towns level. You are going to need to make friends with a tamer or have a taming alt, because you're going to be running bears and terror birds, and they have some of the highest taming requirements in the game. Um, there's also an investment that you're going to need to make with Beast Mastery and the Beast Mastery specific books for each animal, like whether it be a bear or a terror bird. These are not often cheap. You can find them on the broker, but again, this takes a lot to get started, especially when you compare it to other things in the game like Ogmirs and Thursars or Vilas that, you're just going in, grabbing an axe, getting an armor kit, and you're running out there and swinging at things. You know, you can't do that with this build, and it really starts to wear on you after you've died a bunch of times. You have to go into your bank or back to your house and slowly take out all your stacks of materials, break them out into smaller amounts, get your spirit boxes. It's a lot, right? It's very discouraging. When fighting in 1v1s, you have a huge kit. Um, your pets are extremely useful. When you're going up against Thursars, if you have a really good corrupt, you can completely negate their lifesteal. And then you have you and your pet beating them down. If you're running against the Vila, it's really hard for them to escape. If you're able to keep your pet alive in that fight, um, you can have your pet chase it down. Once you get to your Akh Bond range, you want to pull it back, get on the pet, continue to chase the Vila down on your pet, dismount, and finish the job. Um, there's a million things that you can cast on that Vila as they're running, whether it's Surge, Corrupts, Lightnings. You have a huge utility set to pick from based on the situation. Um, Ogmirs, same deal, right? They have tons of survivability. You have a lot of sustainability too. If you're focusing on parrying and having your pet beat them down, you have a lot of magic to counter them if they don't have high psych. You can death hand them if they're a parry god. There's a lot of things that you could do there that makes it very strong 1v1. Group fighting is just as strong, but a little bit different of a gameplay. You're in the midline. You're looking for opportunities to drop earthquakes. You're looking for opportunities to drop miasmas, to just really grief everybody on the other team, cause them to have to move out of position, finishing targets. You want to kind of play your mana pool based on how the fight's playing out. Obviously, you can heal, do other things, and at the end of the day, once your mana is done, you're a foot fighter, right? This build requires a lot of preparation, and you have an extremely small mana pool, and it doesn't regen, even though you're running a human cleric with all the possible benefits of getting mana back quickly. For some reason, Akh Bond costs an obscene amount of mana to cast, so you kind of need to cast that, get your mana back up if you know you're about to go into a fight. Casting it on the fly is definitely beneficial, but it's going to definitely kill your mana pool. So this is probably what most of the senior players care about, or if you're about to reroll your character, you want to know how to configure them, how to get them set up. I am running a full Tindremic human at age 30. I did this to get the most attribute points, so you do take a hit with some of your melee damage bonuses, some other things, but my goal is to get the most possible attribute points to give me the most possible skill points. You need to have a couple of things here to make everything work. You need to have 100 intellect in order to get the best benefits of Akh Bond, and to make your spells actually be worth using, right, to hit hard enough. You definitely want to get max strength. This is going to be your melee damage bonus. It's going to help your foot fighting. You want to have max constitution. You need this for your health pool. You need this for your armor carry weight. I think the biggest room for customization is going to live in how much dexterity you want to run, opposed to how much psych you want to run. Obviously, dexterity favors your foot fighting capabilities, where psych will favor your magic survivability and your magic pool, which the larger the magic pool, the more mana regeneration you will have. I chose hammers. I think hammers are the meta for open world PvP. I think it is extremely annoying when you earthquake someone and you're using your sword, because you just love the way you feint with your sword, and then that dude just gets right back up on his mount and rides away, and you're kind of like, oh well, that sucked, what do I do now? A hammer, they can't do that. A hammer is definitely harder to play, but it's very rewarding when you get there. It's extremely cheap to run. Messing is far cheaper than steel. Blunt rings are cheaper than any of the other damage rings that are on the market right now. You really need to look for certain things when you're building your trinkets, right? It's really important to get max blunt damage with max health, max mana, or try and get as close as you can to max. This is one of those builds where having additional attribute points on your rings, like a lot of people, they focus on getting like silver rings because they want cheap recharges, which is cool, and especially if you're a new player, I highly recommend that you do that. But if you're trying to get the most out of this build, you want to have really, really quality trinkets. You want to stack the attribute points. Any overflow you have is just going to either give you the ability to cap your decks, or give you more psych. For your amulet, I have like no points on my amulet because I like the defense, the physical defenses that it has. This is the amulet that I carried over from my Thursar. It's definitely not meta for this build. I think there's a lot of things that you could do better with that amulet, and you should build it around kind of how you choose to spend your points, what level you're at, whether you favor foot fighting over casting spells. But honestly, any type of spell damage, spell resistance is huge. Any type of physical damage and resistance is huge. Try and get the best deck that you can and run with it. As far as the skill trees go, you're looking to max out your magic, right? So you're going to need full mental offense, concentration, so you don't get interrupted, mental focus. You're going to want to have all of your foot fighting skills, right? So you're going to need full blocking, full stances, full melee weapon of your choice, right? Whether you're going hammers, swords, You don't get endurance or sprinting in this build, and that's something that if you're coming from a Thursar or an Ogmir or a Vila, it's going to take some practice to get used to. You can't be sprinting around everywhere. You can't be using really heavy weapons. The goal in this is to use light weapons like warhammers, one-handed maces, clubs. You're going to need full armor training, right? You want to be able to wear tongue steel or chronite boots when you're feeling Gucci. Your daily kit should be steel, but if you're broke, you can run Panzer or Reptile. Lastly, your magic skills. You're going to need full Ecumenical, full Ritualism, full Necromancy. You want full Ecumenical so you can have your Earthquake. You want full Necromancy. Obviously, there's tons of great spells in Necromancy, but you need the full Necromancy for Mental Leech. That's going to be your mana battery, something you want to be casting all the time in large scale fights, 1v1s. And Ritualism, your pets benefit based on the level of your Ritualism, right? So to have the best pets, you gotta have 100 Ritualism. Simple as that. If hey, you're like, I want to be able to go into town. I'm tired of, I don't have a house. I'm a newer player. I don't want to go out and buy all these really expensive necromancy spells, but I still kind of want to play a variation of this build. For a while, I got gains coming out of town one day because I didn't have my Ritualism kit, got pissed, so I rolled BM. What you do there is you drop your potion utilization, you drop your necromancy, you drop your ritualism, and you go out and you get beast mastery, creature control, and advanced creature control. If you have a good neck, you could maybe even get more there. With my neck, I can't. So in that case, you're going to be running terror birds, you're going to be running bears. As far as your clades go, it's really important that you get tactician. A lot of your AoE that you're going to be dropping, your earthquake, your miasmas, and group fights have the potential of damaging your teammates. You mitigate that firstly through tactician, secondly through some of your war cries. Right, mental power is extremely powerful for helping you get rid of corrupts on you and maybe even a fulminate. Um, Also, given that your psych is low in comparison to some other character builds, you're going to use this to give you more survivability when you're fighting like fat mages and other magic casting types, right? You want to get forceful, well built because you want to have as much strength as you possibly can. You need striker because you want the melee damage bonus, max constitution, right? Give yourself more health. Big boned is going to apply to making yourself taller, which is going to give you more melee combat damage. I wouldn't get double jointed because it's a max dexterity, so it's not actually giving you any dexterity. It's only allowing your dexterity ceiling to be increased, right? And that's the difference between max and raw skills. If this was raw, I'd be grabbing it. But as a max, you kind of want to stay away because you're not maxing your psych, so there's no reason for strong-willed, and you're not maxing your intellect. You're only going to 100, so there's no real reason for intellectual either. So you could kind of work your way around those skills. Outside of that, it's a no-brainer that you want cleric. It's a no-brainer that you want to have crudite, however you say that gives you the 20 ecumenical skill points. Those are super effective. With your remaining points, you could put them wherever best suits your build, right? Having the extra lore isn't terrible, or maybe taking one and putting it into charismatic so you get a little bit more quality of life when you're selling things. But otherwise, clades are pretty simple. The Masteries, I think, are heavily opinionated on this build. I don't think there's one size fits all. It's really going to depend whether you favor casting spells or foot fighting. It's also going to change if you decide to go that beast mastery route that I discussed earlier, right? But the main thing that you want to get is full blunt damage or whatever damage type is associated with the weapon that you choose. If you go axes, right, getting slash and blunt might be beneficial here. You want full spell interruption. This is huge. There's nothing more aggravating than get interrupted when you're trying to cast a heal. I stack out all the attributes on the bottom. I think this is super critical with this type of build. Might not be the best move in every build, but I want to have as much overflow points as I possibly can to dump into my psych to give me more mana, give me more survivability. I want to have as many skill points as I can. You know, when you look at skill points, you could see how many of those points are given to you from free based on how you distributed your attributes, right? So you know, having a lot of attribute points naturally gives you a lot of skill points. In the strength tree, obviously you want your max health, you want your potion utilization masteries, give yourself that thirst so you get regen faster, and the 2 additional units to drink. This is really critical with potion utilization. You're going to get to a point, if you have a little bit more money, you could be slamming anti-magic pots, you could be spamming magic reflect pots. You want to have the best heal that you could possibly get from your Purify DH pot. Outside of that, you know, I personally dump some points into weapon crafting. You know, I wanted to save materials and have more durability. It's obviously not meta for this build, but it's a quality of life thing for myself. I think there's a lot of things that you can change depending on your playstyle, right? If you want to drop the blunt damage and dump more into your mana pool, you could totally do that. You know, you might want to get rid of the cleric masteries on the bottom. They don't have a radically huge benefit, right? It's more of like a quality of life thing. You could dump those more into your resistances to get more magic resistance or physical resistance. Um, there's a lot of different ways that you can go here, right? So get creative, set it up to your playstyle. With spells, as you can see here, you have max ecumenical, you have max necromancy. Some people even go a little bit into elementalism here. This is completely up to you. If you got a really good stat neck, or skill neck rather, however you want to put it, you might have some additional points where you can even grab some of the lower level elementalism stuff like Ember. Um, it's all beneficial, but this is really expensive, right? Going out and getting all these spells, finding a scribe, getting them in your book, understanding when and where to cast them, not only situationally in the game, but based on, you know, taking advantage of your very small mana bar. There's a lot of complexity here, and it's not cheap to get started. I think the most critical ones that you need in order to be able to play this build at any level, especially if you're going to go full Deathknight, it's going to be Earthquake, Death Hand, Akh Bond, Miasma, Mental Leech, and Atrophy. Obviously, you know, there's cheaper spells in this lineup like Lightning and other things that should just be given. Those are the most critical ones. I would focus on getting them first. Ritualism is expensive. You're going to need to learn it through either tome or notes. The tome is stupid money. You could farm in the Necro Dungeon. You're probably not going to find it. Necro Dungeon is an absolute nightmare. I hate going in there. The mobs are strong. They aggro like crazy. There's an invisible bridge that's constantly gate kept. It's just not a good time. I would say it's the least fun dungeon in the entire game. That's just my personal opinion. But hey, if you want to work towards this build, you can go in there and farm, find a lot of the spells that you're going to need. You'll probably find a Tupilak circle potentially, but all in all, I would think it's far more effective to find a good way of farming gold and buying these things off the broker. You know, look at all the different brokers. It might be safer to ride to a different town and buy it at a cheaper price than it is to go in and try and farm this in the Necro Dungeon. Right? You're gonna find yourself making trips to the Ritualism vendor to buy circles and candles frequently. You're gonna go through them like crazy. When leveling Ritualism and Necromancy, there is a couple tricks that can save you a lot of money and a lot of time. The first one that I'd like to talk about would be essentially leveraging notes and a Tupilak circle to give you max Necromancy and max Ritualism. In order to do this as a prerequisite, make sure you unlock Beast Mastery, and don't really worry about your build during this leveling time. A lot's going to change, but you want to free up points so that you can max out Beast Mastery, and then you have the other 200 points that you need to max out Necromancy and Ritualism. You're going to start off by popping the notes, and then buying either a lot of chicken carcass or standing outside of your favorite town and killing chickens. You probably want around 3,500 chicken carcass, and you're going to probably need around 30 to 40 ritual circles and candles. And you're going to essentially spam chicken carcasses by themselves in these ritual circles until you get to Ritualism 25. Once you get there, you're going to want to buy a Tupilak circle, follow the instructions laid out on the screen. There's a gentleman who I can't pronounce his name, so I apologize in advance. I think it's Differel. He's done a lot for the Mortal community over the years from what I learned. He's got a great Discord with tons of information. He created this guide that you see on your screen here. I leveraged this thing all the time when I was learning Ritualism, so huge shout out to him. I hope he doesn't mind me showcasing his work in this video. But you're going to want to build, follow this guide and create your own Tupilak, right? This is something you're going to want to save, right? You're going to get sick of Ritualism, right? You're going to switch off and want to switch back. You're not going to want to have to go out and buy another circle, summon another Tupilak. The materials that you need to summon it are not always so easy to come by, right? So once you do it once, save it in a stable that's not a town that you know is not going to disappear, and keep it, right? Now, when you're leveling, what you're going to want to do is take that Tupilak after you summon it and attack a stable person, any NPC that lives in any building. If you have a legacy stable, or a legacy priest that you can drop within your stronghold or your house, that's the most ideal and the safest because you're within a house or stronghold. If I don't have that, I like to do it at a stable, so if somebody shows up to grief me, I can quickly just stable the Tupilak and it's not dead. But the goal here is to, just like you would level Beast Mastery traditionally, you're going to leverage the Tupilak and the fact that it is the only risen pet that has Beast Mastery abilities. You're going to spam those abilities on the NPC, right? And as you level your Beast Mastery, it's going to unlock more abilities for the Tupilak that are going to require less focus, and you're going to be able to spam it faster, which is going to cause you to build experience in Necromancy and Ritualism. You will cap out Ritualism before you cap out Necromancy, and the goal there is to just lock Ritualism to continue to level Necromancy until you have them both at 100. This is going to save you a ton of money and time in failing to cast spells and a bunch of mats that you would need, a bunch of spirit boxes. It's just, even though it might seem more expensive out of the gate, it's cheaper and you get a return on your investment any other time that you want to level this up down the road. There's a similar trick that you can do with Ecumenical. If you go out and you buy a Dominate 2 book, then you lock Dominate at 0 or 1 or whatever it is by default because of your attributes. You just lock it right away. Don't invest any of your primary skill points in it, and leave your Ecumenical unlocked, and naturally it will level the parent during this process. And this can also save you a ton of time and money leveling Ecumenical. Okay, so now you're max level Ritualism. You've finished your build, you're ready to go out there, you want to build, or rather summon, some cool pets. How does that work, right? Well, gems are set up specifically for your damage, right? I would run Rugers at minimum. You could do more, right? It depends on how much money you want to spend, what you're using them for, how much of a throwaway they're going to be. I wouldn't summon anything other than horses with anything less than forest or steppe troll carcass. The difference between steppe troll, jungle troll, and forest troll, frozen, whatever the hell, northern troll, frost troll, is trivial. So I wouldn't go crazy trying to make your way up north to get that special carcass. It's going to be a handful of health points, if anything. So get whatever troll carcass is easiest for you to come by. All right. Um, Outside of that, if you're feeling Gucci, you want to spend a little extra money, you can go out and buy some artifacts or relics, right? Um, the relic that you see in the video here gave me an extra 30 hit points on the turbo bird that I rose. Not needed, right? Like I said, if you want to dump an extra 300 gold into your pet just because it'll make you feel better about its strength, go for it. But normally, I run with no relics and just throw an adamant in there. Alright guys, well, if you're still watching at this point, I'm impressed. I think I would have stopped watching by now. But if you did, please leave some comments. Let me know if this is helpful, if there's anything I didn't cover here. I'm happy to answer questions. I think this is a great game that is filled with a lot of toxic players that gatekeep a lot of tech, and it's really challenging for a new player to jump in and understand the different aspects of the game. So, if you guys want, feel free to leave a comment with a question, or if you want to DM me in game, I'm happy to help. Otherwise, good luck with the build, and I'll see you in the next video.